Welcome to XFO Intelligence Podcast, Complex Q series, where complex questions have been deeply analyzed and addressed using the deep augmented thinking method. Today's question strikes at the heart of modern strategic leadership. As AI becomes central to strategy formulation, how do we discern and mitigate the inherent biases in AI-driven recommendations? And critically, what new governance structures are needed to ensure that human judgment remains the ultimate decision maker? Let me share something profound with you. We're facing what I call the sovereign strategist paradox. AI offers us unprecedented analytical depth, yet it introduces opaque risks regarding bias and agency. The challenge we face isn't technical implementation anymore, it's epistemic governance, ensuring that the knowledge produced by AI is valid, unbiased, and subordinate to human ethical judgment. Here's the fundamental insight. AI and human strategy operate in completely different domains. AI is probabilistic and retrospective. It identifies patterns in historical data to predict future likelihoods. But here's the critical limitation. It cannot conceive of a future that has no precedent in its training data. Strategy, on the other hand, is teleological and prospective. It's the allocation of scarce resources to create a specific future state that doesn't yet exist. True strategy often requires breaking historical patterns, disruption, not optimizing them. When AI moves from informing to recommending, it risks becoming what I call a black box oracle. If leaders cannot interrogate the why behind a recommendation, strategy becomes algorithmic determinism rather than deliberate choice. Let me break down the 3 layers of strategic bias that governance must address. First, data provenance bias, the rear-view mirror problem. AI models are trained on historical data, and AI recommending market entry based on historical success metrics may overlook emerging markets where data is sparse but potential is high. It reinforces the status quo. Second, objective function bias, the metric trap. AI optimizes for the loss function it's given. If the objective is maximize short-term shareholder value, the AI may recommend strategies that cut R&D or ESG initiatives, damaging long-term viability. Bias here isn't a bug, it's a mathematical necessity of defining an objective function. Third, and most dangerous, automation bias, the human weakness. This is the psychological tendency of humans to favor suggestions from automated systems, ignoring contradictory information. Executives become rubber stampers, losing the cognitive muscle to challenge the model. So what's the solution? Traditional governance structures, ethics committees, IT oversight, are insufficient. They operate as gatekeepers rather than architects. We need to evolve toward what I call a human-in-command framework. Let me give you 3 practical governance principles. First, objective function transparency. Governance must move upstream from approving decisions to approving the design of the decision engine. Boards should not just approve the output, they must approve the weights. If a model optimizes for ROI, it must explicitly declare what it excludes, carbon impact, employee retention, whatever it might be. Here's the rule: no black box models for high-stakes strategy. If the model cannot explain its feature importance in natural language, it's disqualified for strategic use. Second, the value of friction. Modern corporate culture idolizes speed, but in the context of AI strategy, efficiency is a vulnerability. Automation bias thrives in frictionless environments. Implement mandatory cooling-off periods for AI-driven strategic decisions. A high-stakes recommendation should sit in quarantine for 48 to 72 hours before approval. This breaks the momentum of algorithmic confidence. And here's something counterintuitive. Executives must retain unconditional veto power without penalty. Track your override rate as a health metric. A 0% override rate suggests automation bias. A 20 to 30% rate indicates a healthy adaptive immune system. Third, redundancy as resilience. AI-driven optimization naturally seeks to prune redundancy. It identifies human oversight channels as low flux and recommends cutting them. This is a critical error. Maintain warm oversight channels even when they're not actively used. They are the organization's immune system. Better yet, have two teams use the same AI with different objective functions. The delta between their recommendations reveals the bias more effectively than a single consensus. Now let's redefine the human role. The greatest mistake organizations make is casting humans as approvers and AI as generators. This invites cognitive atrophy. The roles should be inverted. AI should be the optimizer, handling the quantitative, market size, cost, probability, risk variance. It's the engine that stress tests ideas against historical data. Humans should be the explorers, handling the qualitative, brand sentiment, ethical alignment, cultural fit, and what I call fog penetration. Senior strategists should be assigned to roles where data is scarce. Their job isn't to validate AI, but to find new food sources, new opportunities for the AI to eventually optimize. Here's the absolute principle. A strategy cannot proceed if the AI probability is positive, but the human ethical alignment is negative. The human no must be absolute. The AI no must be advisory. Let's talk about accountability. An algorithm cannot be fired or held legally liable. Therefore, legal and ethical liability must reside in a conscious entity. The executive who signs off on an AI recommendation must attest that they understand the confidence intervals, not just the recommendation. Board charters should be updated to explicitly state that reliance on AI does not absolve directors of their fiduciary duty of care. So here's my conclusion. The integration of AI into strategy formulation is inevitable, but it must not be passive. The organizations that will thrive are not those with the most advanced algorithms, but those with the most robust governance of those algorithms. Leaders must cultivate what I call epistemic humility, the wisdom to know what the machine knows, what it doesn't, and when to trust human intuition over digital certainty. In the end, remember this: AI is a machine of probability, what is likely. Strategy is an act of will, what we choose to make real. Governance must ensure that the will remains human. If you found this analysis valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the XFO Intelligence Podcast channel. And if you have a complex problem that needs solving, a question that keeps you up at night, email us at xfointelligence@gmail.com. We'll apply the deep augmented thinking method to help you find clarity. Until next time, stay sovereign in your strategic thinking.